Please welcome to the stage, David Arroyo.
Hey guys, is everyone okay? Okay, good. Thank you so much for coming out and for having me. It is my first Risk show. So honored to be here, especially in front of all the Risk fans. So it's around June, and it's one of those really hot, steamy New York summer days, where I'm in the subway. It's like 110 degrees. I'm sweating like crazy. There's sweat in my eyes. My eyes thin. And I have these two gigantic bags full of crap from the thrift store. Basically crap to make my crappy apartment look less crappy. So the train comes in and doors open up. And like every New Yorker, you rush in to grab a seat, right? So I rush in to grab a seat and there's no seats. But I look and I see this girl and she's wearing a Puerto Rican t-shirt and a Puerto Rican bandana. And she has two bags taking up two seats on the bench, which I fucking hate. But, I'm standing there, and what you gotta know about me, guys, is that I hate confrontation. Like one time I was in the subway, and this drunk guy sat on me for about 3 minutes before I got up and left the train. So normally I would just stand there. I would just stand there and I would just let the seats go. But at the time I was living in the Bronx and I'm going, man, this is not fair. I got like 15 stops to go. Then I got to take a bus to get to my apartment. No, man, this fucking sucks. I, of all people, deserve these seats, So I point to the seats and the girl is annoyed and she takes her bags off the seats and I sit down. And when I sit down, my leg kind of brushes her a little bit and she looks at me, she goes, damn, you can't say excuse me nothing? And I look at her and I just blurt out, no, I can't. And she gets so angry and I get so scared. And immediately she takes out her phone and calls her friend and starts talking shit about me. And she's talking about how she wants her to get her friends to meet me on my stop, to kick my ass, and how she's gonna mess me up. And then she starts talking bad about me in Spanish. The funny thing is that I speak Spanish. So I know everything she's saying about me. And then she goes and says, this white boy thinks he's better than me. And I find that kind of really hysterical because both my parents are Puerto Rican. I was born in the Bronx, but my parents moved me down when I was 3, and they made a big point of speaking English around the house because they wanted me to keep my English. They wanted me to stay with a very strong sense of the knowledge of English because they felt like it was going to be a big advantage for me when I grew up. And what they didn't really understand was that it was a double-edged sword. Yeah, it did help me eventually in the future, but it also made me very isolated. People thought kids my own age thought I was weird, they couldn't really understand why I read, not for homework. I pretty much buried my face in, comic books, Marvel Comics, fuck DC, and Christopher Pike books and Fear Street from R.L. Stine and, it's just like a lot of adult stuff. And I was glued to TV. Like my favorite shows growing up were, Reading Rainbow and Doogie Howser. And I kind of patterned my speech about that. My vocabulary got better and better and better. And I made friends and it was fun in high school. But then after high school, I started to experience I was in a really bad situation. And the reason is because the thing is, Puerto Rico's been part of the U.S. for over 100 years. And before that, they were a colony of Spain. So when, when they came over, this kind of created a big identity crisis, where it became a national question of what makes a Puerto Rican. Is it the color of your skin? Is it that he was born in Puerto Rico? or is that he speaks Spanish only. And I did not meet the criteria for any of those. So I was fucked. So I would have like these experiences. Like the one that stands out the most to me was I was in a chat room, back when the internet was new. And I'm like chatting away and I'm talking to this girl and she's really cute. And I find out she's from Guaynabo, which is like a town like 20 minutes away from me. And I go, hey, I see you from Guaynabo. I'm from Bayamon. And she goes, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, I'm from Bayamon. And she goes, but you said your name was Brian. And I go, no, I said I like Bryan Adams. And she goes, well, how long you been in Bayamon? And I'm like, since I was 3. And she goes and says, so why are we speaking Spanish? Why are we speaking English right now? Why are we speaking Spanish? And I'm like, well, I like to speak English. It's my preferred language. My mind kind of works that way, yada, yada, yada. And she goes and says, well, I don't want to talk to you anymore. And I go, why? And she goes, because I only talk to real Puerto Ricans. So now I'm halfway to my stop, and this girl is saying stuff in English like, does Pedro still have his bat? Does Jose still have his gun? I know they have priors, but I think we can get away with this. And then in Spanish, she's saying to her, she's trying to figure out my stop because she's in Gun Hill Road. And so that's all the way to the end of the 5 train. And she's saying stuff like, I think he gets off on 96th Street because all white people get off on 96th Street. No white person goes past 96th Street. And I'm thinking to myself, this is ridiculous. So the thing is, like, when I moved to New York, I was open, my world was opened up. I started to meet people from different races, ethnicities, and stuff like that. And a really weird thing started to happen to me. And that was I was being confused for being of other races and ethnicities. Like, I got confused for being Jewish, Italian, one time Pakistani. But most I get confused for being white. So situations would happen where I'd be with coworkers or, people I just met, acquaintances, and the topic of where you're from comes up. And I'll say, well, I'm from Puerto Rico. I was raised there. And they go, wait a minute, you're Puerto Rican? And I go, yeah. And they go, but you speak English so well. Or, you don't sound like a Puerto Rican. And my reply was always, you don't sound like a racist, but hey, I guess the world is full of surprises, isn't it? But eventually, I had these conversations over and over and over again that I got fed up, and I would just avoid the question. I let people believe what they wanted to believe. And that's when I became an undercover Puerto Rican. And I would have like these really weird experiences, but the one that like I remember the most is I was at this story slam called The Moth, where folks, they rate your story. You go up on stage, they rate your story and blah, blah. And so I'm sitting next to this like little old lady, and she has like the little perm and the sweater and the little purse and stuff like that. And she looks like your grandma. I'm going to call her Blanche because both Kevin and me love the Golden Girls. And so, she goes and says, hey, I put my name in the hat. I'm doing stand-up right now, and I can't wait to get on stage. And I go, hey, that's nice. That's great. And she gets called up, and she tells a story, and it's fucking horrible. She has no structure whatsoever. She's going all over the place. It's kind of a boring story, but, whatever. She comes down, she gets bad scores, and she comes down and sits next to me. And then a Colombian man gets called up, and he goes on stage, and he tells the most amazing story. Like, I'm not going to talk about it because they can't do it justice, but it was amazing. And he got these amazing scores, and eventually later on won the Moth. And when he gets the score, he gets the scores, she leans over to me and she says, hey, I guess you got to be a spick to get good scores around here. And I was floored. I was like, Blanche, you racist bitch. Living up to the Southern stereotype. I thought that, but and I still think about this to this day. I didn't say anything. I just froze, And at the end of the night, she gets up and shakes my hand, says, "It was really nice talking to you." And I even I don't do anything. I even smiled a little bit, And I hated myself for that because I was like, I could have stood up for my people. I could have stood up for where I came from. I could have said, "Fuck you," but I didn't. I didn't say anything. I just stood there and smiled. So now I'm coming to the end of my stop, and I'm pretty much sure this girl's full of shit because the logistics just don't work. Like, how's she gonna get her friends to my stop in time to kick my ass? And she's gonna hold me there? That's not gonna work, And she's talking to her friend in Spanish, talking about how scared I must be and blah, blah. And I'm like, whatever. And I get to my stop, and it's Allerton. I get up in Allerton, and I get up from the seat, and she starts screaming on her phone, "He's scanning off for Allerton! He's scanning off for Allerton!" And I look at her, and I think about Blanche, and I just go, "Yo soy boricua!" And she doesn't really know how to respond to that. And I don't really know how to follow that up. So I just walk off the subway station. My stage, I walk up the subway station, And I'm waiting for the bus, and I'm thinking about what just happened. I'm going holy shit, I can't believe this fucking happened. And I think to myself, you know what, man? I'm like this racial nomad, I wear all these faces, but my true face, the face that I wear, people say, well, you shouldn't wear that face because you don't live up to the stereotype or you don't live up to our standards. And I'm thinking about that, and I just go, you know what? Fuck it. Yo soy boricua. Thank you.